Welcome to Obsessed with Success, starring Russel Morgan.
Hey there, welcome back to Obsessed with Success with Russel Morgan, a trusted estate planner and business strategist for entrepreneurs. I'm Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're digging into a topic many lawyers and founders overlook until it's too late: asset protection. If you run a business, own property, or simply want to shield your hard work from legal and financial threats, this one's for you. Russell, welcome back.
Kevin, great to be here as always.
All right, so we're talking about the business behind the practice, asset protection for entrepreneurs and founders. So why is this an important topic?
Asset protection on a very fundamental level is limiting liability, keeping what we've worked so hard to earn away from litigation, lawsuits, claims, judgments, liens. It's something that no matter what your socioeconomic status is, whether we're talking about your primary residence, your small business, or you're a mega conglomerate, it's something that needs to be incorporated in any effective bit of planning. Things happen in life, and whether it's a car accident, an unexpected hospitalization, or a lawsuit by an employee, these are all reasons why effective asset protection can preserve what we've worked so hard to build. There are also reasons why you can lose what you've worked so hard to build almost overnight. So any effective asset protection plan is going to take into effect not just what is going on in your life presently, but what can happen based on your profession, based on the type of business that you're involved in, and based on your current assets and liabilities.
I think there's a misconception out there that it's only for people with tons of wealth, people who are the ultra wealthy, if you will. That's not the case, is it?
It's definitely not for the ultra wealthy. We do all types of asset protection plans, and it could be something as simple as protecting your primary residence. I mean, look, for most folks in the US and for most folks in general, our home, our primary residence is our biggest asset. Mm-hmm. Most people are pouring a lifetime of work just to pay off a 30-year mortgage. And the last thing we want is some unexpected event that now gives someone else the right to attach a lien to your house. So it's not necessarily based on how much money you have. It's definitely not for the ultra wealthy. It's something we use for everyday people that are just looking to protect their hard-earned legacy.
What are some of the risks that entrepreneurs face when they don't structure things correctly?
Liability is definitely one. You know, this is entrepreneurs and asset protection go hand in hand. You know, inherently as an entrepreneur, you're going in understanding you're going to have risk. Risk could mean I borrowed money to start my business, and now I'm, working with all of my energy to make sure I'm paying that debt off. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes, unfortunately, it does not. There's risk in employment. For example, if you have a team of employees, things happen. Someone can get hurt on the job. If you're in the construction industry, or if you're in real estate, there are other reasons for employment suits, but that's another reason why oftentimes, especially for entrepreneurs, risk is inherent with employment cases. There's also the other side where the type of business that you're involved in, professionals, for example, doctors, a lot of surgeons who are in very high risk businesses are implementing sophisticated asset protection plans. Why? Because the highest level of litigation happens with anesthesiologists. They have the most highest risk per reward in the medical industry.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Has the highest premiums for insurance because they have the highest risk for a problem to happen during injection. So doctors are often the first to come to us at Morgan Legal to make sure that they're protected, that we're able to structure their business if they're a solo practitioner, if they're involved in a group, or if they're working at a hospital, that we're able to separate themselves from their assets.
When it comes to separating your personal and business liability, obviously that's something any business owner, entrepreneur wants. How do you help clients ensure that those stay separate?
You have to think about it just on a very basic level. Your business assets and your personal assets, keep them in two separate baskets in your mind. That's the best way that I can put it. We can put your business into basket number one, all of your business related assets. Let's say you're in construction and all of your equipment, the actual land that you operate on, the work sites, the job sites, your employees, your accounts receivables, any money you stand to earn in the future. Those can all be assets, futures, and income related to your business. Your personal, we would separate into basket B. And that can be your primary residence, your checking account, your savings account, your brokerage accounts. And the idea is to separate basket A, your business assets, from basket B, so that if there are ever any issues, if God forbid there's a lawsuit, litigation, claim, judgment against your business, that we limit any potential claim to your personal property. And when we get into a bit more sophisticated structures, you can separate businesses from other businesses. So let's say I'm a real estate investor, for example, and I own 10 different properties. We want to make sure that if I get sued by someone related to property number one, they can't go after property 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just another way that we can not only separate personal from business, but further separate any liability within your respective investments on the business side.
Most founders, entrepreneurs, they're looking to scale eventually. Most of them are. Do you find that there's a lot of issues if a company starts scaling before having these protections in place?
It's something that should be done fundamentally, especially if your goal, as it should be, is to scale. Asset protection is something we plan for early. The worst type of calls that we receive are the ones where we can't help anymore. It's too late. There's already been a judgment put in place. Your assets have already been liened. And at that point, there is no form of asset protection per se that you can put in place without formally addressing the judgment or the lien or whatever's been enforced already by the court.
Right.
So definitely it's something that any business owner, any entrepreneur should not only be thinking about, should be consulting about and implementing as early as possible, especially if your business is scalable and sustainable. And if it is, then of course that's inevitably going to lead to growth. Growth inherently means exposure. Exposure means liability. So asset protection needs to start on a fundamental level.
Do you have different strategies, or do you recommend different strategies to people depending on the type of company they have, whether it's an S corp, an LLC, a holding company, et cetera?
Absolutely. There is no one size fits all for asset protection, especially when we get into the entrepreneur world, when we get into the business world.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that is in business number one, that's structured under an LLC, for example, may not necessarily have the same plan as business number two that's structured in a C corporation. And a lot of times we're restructuring the business governance altogether. And we're putting in new companies, new management, new holding companies, new limited partnerships, just to separate liability a step further even if you have some of the essentials already in place, a limited liability company is a great place to start. It's not an end all be all, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So to that end, it's really case by case. And depending on your corporate structure, you might have partners involved. And your partners, some of them may have spouses. And this is an example of what can happen if we don't plan right. If, let's say, there's a divorce in the future, hypothetically, and you and I are in business together, your wife can potentially now become my business partner without proper planning in place.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just another example showing that there is no one size fits all asset protection plan. It really needs to be evaluated, presented, and completed case by case, designed specific to that business, to your particular corporate infrastructure and your portfolio. Because a lot of clients that we're dealing with are not just entrepreneurs, they're serial entrepreneurs, where they may have 4, 5, 6 businesses in place. And we need to restructure each one of them individually.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I've known serial entrepreneurs before, and they're so laser focused on getting another business going. They're not always thinking about these other things. So it's important to plan ahead for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've talked about trusts in other episodes. Do trusts play into asset protection in these situations?
Trust can definitely play into asset protection. It's one type of vehicle that we can put in place. And look, in the world of trust planning, there are a million variations. In the world of irrevocable trusts, which is one of the types of trust that you can use to protect assets. I can, we can spend the next hour talking about the different ways you can structure it and how irrevocable trust number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on its face may all look the same, but the devil is in the details. So it's definitely one of the effective tools. The problem is it's not the only, and unfortunately, what I see often and more often than not is it's the only option people are presented with. Just place it all into a trust, and that's the solution to your problem. But what does that really mean? How does that affect my life? Am I still in control? Do I still make decisions? Can I still receive money from the trust? Do I have to put somebody else in charge? What kind of tax advantages does it have for me? Or disadvantages does it have for me? What happens if I want to make changes in the future? So there's so many questions that go into trust planning in general that, number one, you need to be clear that a trust is exactly that. It's a entity where you're relying on someone else to make decisions on your behalf, if we're talking about an irrevocable trust. But it's not the only method of protecting assets, and it doesn't necessarily work for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There are other effective asset protection tools and forms of planning that are less restrictive and that are more effective, and that can be family based. Limited partnerships are something that we prepare regularly. And this is more of a multi-generational asset protection setup where your children, yourselves, and their generation can all be involved, and we can couple it with things like irrevocable trusts to give it an extra layer of protection. But in some cases, we don't necessarily need to go that far. A properly structured LLC with the right corporate governance, dividing it between ownership and control, where we're separating who the manager is versus who the owners are, can also be an effective tool. So it just speaks to the point that asset protection is such a vast world, and people really need to do their homework, take enough consultations to get comfortable, and work with a professional. Don't land with the first person that offers you a trust as the only solution, and make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into long term.
Yeah, is it a mindset? Because I mean, I feel like, so often, I mentioned that these serial entrepreneurs, they're always just looking for the next company or whatever, and they're really, really good at what they do, but they don't think about these things. So how can someone shift a mindset in order to make sure that they protect themselves?
One of the things you hear all the time in the world of asset protection is control everything, own nothing. And
Interesting.
what this comes back to is a lot of people struggle with that concept. Is they have a hard time letting go of control. They have a hard time giving up ownership over the things you've worked so hard for. And this is something that we teach our clients, that you don't necessarily relinquish control over your assets when we put an asset protection plan in place. If you're doing it effectively and if you know what you're doing, you can still control legally, but have a third party entity, let's say a trust or a holding company, own the assets themselves that don't necessarily belong to you, but you're still the person in charge. So the mindset that we struggle with our clients is, I'm no longer the person that owns this. I'm putting it in the hands of somebody else. They're now responsible and I have to rely on somebody else. Well, that's not necessarily true. If it's written right and if it makes sense for you, most importantly, if it's legal, then there is a way for us to make sure that you can maintain a level of control over the most important parts. And this is applicable to any type of asset protection, whether we're doing this for entrepreneurs or we're doing this for folks that want to plan long term to preserve their legacy, to protect their home from creditor claims, to keep it out as an available resource, meaning to eliminate it from being counted as an available resource if, God forbid, they need to go into a nursing home or a long-term care facility. So educating your clients is the number one part, making sure they're clear and they understand that they're comfortable in what they're getting themselves involved in and that they can still be that entrepreneur. They can still continue to grow. They can still hyper expand. They can still maintain that control without necessarily owning the entities themselves.
Final thoughts here. What's one thing that a business owner listening to us talk right now could do to better protect themselves, protect their assets, if they know that they're kind of slacking a little bit?
Call Morgan Legal Group. That's as simple as that.
I didn't even mean to tee that one up for you.
A lot of times this is a conversation.
Yeah.
I'll have the phone call, I'll have the consultation, and it's really just a review. It's, do I need something in place? It's not, you definitely need to do something.
Right.
It's, we need to take a look. We need to see what's going on under the hood. We need to understand your structure. We need to understand what business you're involved in. What kind of liability do you have? What are you working on? Who are you working with? What kind of debt do you have? And what makes sense for you? And it may not be today. It may not be necessary today, but it's something long term that as you grow and scale, and coming back to startups and entrepreneurs in general, when you get to a point where you're steady and stable, maybe it makes sense at that point. But at least we've had the conversation. We've opened the door and we've made it clear that this is something you need to be actively thinking about. The same way every good business person has their lawyer, their financial advisor, and their accountant, asset protection is in that same class. Your lawyer is not just there to shield you, they're there to be preventative as much as they are to be remediary. And the more preventative measures we can put in place, the less money you're going to spend on your lawyer having to be remediary.
All right. Well, success isn't just what you build, it's about what you protect. And yeah, thanks for that very much, Russell. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all you guys listening to our show. Head to morganlegalny.com or call 888-529-1315 to schedule a strategy session with Russell and take control of your legacy. You can also check them out on social. It's at Morgan Legal NY. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this with the entrepreneurs in your life. We'd appreciate it. Russell, I always appreciate chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Kevin, great to be here as always. See you next week.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.